The lights in the Galactic Council chamber dimmed as Admiral Zex stepped forward. His blue skin looked pale under the harsh meeting room lights. Behind him, a massive holographic map of the galaxy slowly rotated, showing thousands of star systems in bright white dots. But there was one area that glowed angry red. "Senators," Admiral Zex began, his voice shaking slightly, "we have a problem." The red zone pulsed on the map like a beating heart. It covered an entire star system, sealed away from the rest of space by invisible barriers. No ships went there. No signals came from there. It had been this way for 3,000 years. In the back row of the council chamber, a young Altarian cadet named Chris raised his hand. His green eyes were full of curiosity as he pointed at the red zone. "Admiral, what exactly is in Sector 7? The entire chamber went silent. You could hear the hum of the air systems. Several older senators shifted nervously in their seats. Some wouldn't even look at the map anymore. Admiral Zex's jaw tightened. "That, cadet, is classified information." "But sir," Chris pressed on, not understanding the fear around him. "Why is it marked as forbidden? What could be so dangerous that we need to avoid an entire star system?" An ancient Vorthan senator named Elder Thane slowly stood up. His gray skin was covered in old battle scars and his forearms trembled with age. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper, but everyone listened. "Because, young one, that's where we put them." "Them?" Chris asked. Elder Thane's eyes grew distant, like he was looking back through centuries of memory. "The humans." The word hung in the air like poison. Several senators actually moved away from the map display. A few younger members looked confused, but the older ones remembered the stories. 3,000 years ago, Elder Thane continued, our galaxy was at war, not with each other, but with visitors. They came from the third planet in that system. They called it Earth. Admiral Zex wanted to stop the old senator, but Elder Thane kept talking. At first, we thought they would be easy to defeat. They were young, primitive compared to us. They had simple weapons, small ships, and no real technology. We had laser weapons that could destroy planets. We had ships the size of cities. We had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. So what happened? Chris asked, even though he could see the fear in everyone's faces. Elder Thane sat back down heavily. We won, but it cost us everything. The chamber was so quiet now that every breath sounded loud. The red zone on the map seemed to pulse faster, as if it was listening. The humans fought differently than anyone we had ever seen, Elder Thane whispered. When we destroyed their weapons, they built better ones. When we captured their soldiers, they learned our tactics. When we thought we had beaten them, they came back stronger. Admiral Zex stepped forward. Elder Thane, this is not appropriate for... No. The old senator snapped. The young ones need to know. They need to understand what we did and why. He turned back to Chris. We didn't defeat the humans in battle, boy. We barely survived them. Every fight made them better. Every loss taught them something new. They were like a virus that made everyone around them stronger and more dangerous. But the war ended, another senator said nervously. We won, did we? Elder Thane asked sadly. We built the most powerful prison in galactic history. We used technology from 12 different species to create energy barriers around their entire solar system. We made it impossible for them to leave or for anyone to enter. Why not just destroy them? Chris asked. Because we tried, Elder Thane replied. And they survived that too. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the council chamber. Red warning lights flashed on every wall. Admiral Zex grabbed his communication device as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Sir. A panicked voice crackled through the speaker. The energy readings from Sector 7. They're dropping fast. Admiral Zex's face went white. What do you mean, dropping? The containment barriers around the human system, sir. They're failing. The seal is breaking. Every senator in the chamber stood up at once. Some were shouting, others were running for the exits. But Elder Thane just sat there, staring at the red zone on the map. And there's something else, sir, the voice continued. We're receiving a transmission from inside the sealed zone. That's impossible, Admiral Zex said. Nothing has come from that system for 3,000 years. Yes, sir, but the message is clear. It says, the voice paused, fear obvious in every word. It says this is Earth. We're still here. The holographic map flickered. For just a moment, the red zone turned white. Then everything went dark. Part 2. The Breaking Seal. The emergency alarm hadn't stopped ringing for 6 hours. Across the galaxy, every military base was on high alert. Ships that had been docked for repairs were rushed back into service. Soldiers who were on leave were called back immediately. At the Galactic Command Center, Admiral Zek stood in front of a wall of screens. Each screen showed the same terrifying sight. The energy barrier around Earth's solar system was flickering like a dying light bulb. "How much time do we have?" he asked the chief scientist. Dr. Yila, a thin Christian with silver skin, looked at her readings with shaking hands. "The barrier's losing power every hour, sir. At this rate, complete failure in 72 hours. 72 hours, Admiral Zex repeated slowly. 3 days until they're free. Behind him, Cadet Chris watched the screens with wide eyes. "Sir, I still don't understand. Why is everyone so scared? It's been 3,000 years. Maybe the humans have changed." Several officers turned to look at him like he had said something crazy, but it was Elder Thane who answered. The old senator had not left the command center since the crisis began. "Changed?" Elder Thane laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Boy, you don't understand what humans are. They don't change. They adapt." He moved to one of the screens showing historical data. "Computer, show the Keth War records, year 2047. The screen filled with images of a proud warrior race called the Keth. They were known across the galaxy as the greatest fighters who ever lived. Their ships were works of art, their tactics were perfect, and their honor was legendary. The Keth fought humans for 3 years, Elder Thane explained. "Watch what happened." The screen showed battle footage from the beginning of the war. Human ships looked clumsy compared to the elegant Keth vessels. Human weapons seemed weak. The Keth were winning easily. "Now watch year 2, Elder Thane said. The footage changed. Now human ships moved differently. They fought like the Keth, but somehow better. They used Keth tactics against the Keth themselves. And year 3. By the 3rd year, human ships were moving in ways that no one had ever seen before. They fought with Keth honor, but also with something new, something that made them impossible to predict. The Keth were the greatest warriors in galactic history, Elder Thane said quietly. But after fighting humans, they became something more, something that scared even us. Cadet Chris stared at the screen. What happened to them? They joined the humans willingly, said they had found their true teachers. A new alarm started ringing. Dr. Yila looked at her instruments in panic. "Sir, the barrier just lost another 10% power. Something is actively draining it from the inside." Admiral Zex grabbed his communicator. "Get me Captain Rourke," a gruff voice answered. "Rourke here. Captain, I need you to take your scout ship to the barrier edge. I want to know exactly what's happening." "Are you crazy?" Captain Rourke shouted. "Nobody goes near that sector. It's been forbidden for good reason." "The barrier is failing anyway, Captain. We need information." There was a long pause. "Fine. But if something happens to me, my family gets full military benefits." 2 hours later, Captain Rourke's ship reached the edge of the barrier. His voice came through the communicator filled with amazement and fear. "Command, you're not going to believe this. The barrier isn't just failing, something is testing it. I can see energy pulses hitting it from the inside like someone is studying it." "Studying it how?" Admiral Zex asked. "Like they're learning how to break it properly. Each pulse is different, like they're trying different methods." Elder Thane closed his eyes. They've been trapped for 3,000 years. Of course they've learned how our technology works. Suddenly Captain Rourke's voice turned urgent. "Wait, there's something coming through the barrier. A small object, maybe a probe. Get back immediately," Admiral Zex ordered. "It's too late. The object is... Oh no. Oh no. Captain, report!" Captain Rourke's voice was barely a whisper. "It's not a probe. It's a message container. Old style but modified. It's heading straight for the Galactic Council." The communication went silent. 3 hours later, the message container arrived at the council building. Nobody wanted to open it. Finally, Elder Thane stepped forward. Inside was a simple data chip and a handwritten note in perfect galactic common language. The note read, "We know you're listening. We know you're afraid. We remember everything. We've had 3,000 years to think about what happened. We want to talk, but this time we talk as equals. The barrier will fall in 60 hours. Please don't make us break it ourselves. Earth. At the bottom was a single signature. Commander Sarah Chen, Earth Defense Force. Admiral Zex looked at the note with horror. They still have a military. After 3,000 years in prison, they still have a military. Elder Thane nodded slowly. That's what makes them human. The screens around them showed the barrier flickering faster now. Time was running out. The barrier around Earth's solar system finally collapsed at exactly 1437 Galactic Standard Time. The moment it happened, every sensor in the galaxy detected the energy release. It was like a massive explosion, but in reverse. Instead of destroying, it freed. Admiral Zex stood in the command center, watching the screens with sweaty palms. Around him, dozens of officers waited in complete silence. The most powerful military fleets in galactic history were positioned at safe distances, ready for anything. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Vex, "we have movement in the former barrier zone." "What kind of movement?" Admiral Zex asked, his voice tight. "A single ship, sir. Small vessel, maybe 30 meters long. It's heading this way." Elder Thane, who had not slept in 3 days, leaned forward in his chair. "One ship? Just one?" "Yes, sir. Very basic design. Nothing like the advanced ships from the old war records." Cadet Chris looked confused. Why would they send just one small ship? Don't they know we have entire fleets waiting? "Maybe that's exactly why they sent one ship," Elder Thane said quietly. The human ship moved slowly through space, making no aggressive moves. It didn't activate weapons. It didn't call for backup. It just flew steadily toward the nearest Galactic Council station. "Sir," Lieutenant Vex reported, "the human ship is sending a message." "Put it through," Admiral Zex ordered, his hand moving toward the emergency alarm. The speakers crackled, and then a voice filled the command center. It was human, speaking perfect galactic common, but the tone was friendly. "Hello out there. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the Earthship Friendship. We'd like to talk." Everyone in the command center stared at each other. That was it? No threats, no demands, just a polite request to talk. "Sir," Lieutenant Vex whispered, "how should we respond?" Admiral Zex didn't know what to say. He had expected angry warriors demanding revenge. He had expected advanced weapons and impossible technology. He had not expected someone who sounded like he was asking for directions. Tell him to maintain his current position," Admiral Zex finally said. "Copy that, Galactic Command." Captain Webb's voice came back immediately. "We'll hold position here. Take your time. We know this must be awkward for everyone." "Awkward?" Elder Thane almost laughed. 3,000 years of the most expensive prison in galactic history, and the humans called it awkward. "Sir," another officer reported, "our deep scans show the human ship has minimal weapons. Basic shields. No sign of the advanced technology from the old war." "That's impossible," Admiral Zex said. "They've had 3,000 years to develop better technology." Captain Webb's voice came through the speakers again. "Galactic Command, we can hear your scanning attempts. Don't worry, we're not hiding anything. This really is just a basic diplomatic ship. We left the fancy stuff at home." The fact that they could detect the scans was worrying enough. But the casual way Captain Webb mentioned fancy stuff made everyone nervous. "Admiral," Elder Thane said slowly, "someone needs to talk to them. Are you volunteering?" Elder Thane stood up, his old bones creaking. "I'm the only one here who remembers the first contact. Maybe I should handle the second contact too." 1 hour later, Elder Thane's diplomatic ship approached the human vessel. His hands shook as he opened a direct communication channel. "Captain Webb, this is Elder Thane of the Vorthan Republic. I was there during the original war." "Elder Thane!" Captain Webb sounded genuinely pleased. "It's an honor to meet you. We have records of your diplomatic efforts during the conflict. You tried to find peaceful solutions. This surprised Elder Thane. You remember that?" "We remember everything, Elder. Every battle, every attempt at peace, every decision that led to our imprisonment. But we're not here for revenge. Then why are you here?" There was a pause. When Captain Webb spoke again, his voice was more serious. "Because we need to understand something. Our historians have studied the old records for 3,000 years. We can't figure out why you locked us away instead of just destroying us." Elder Thane felt his throat go dry. "You don't know. We know we were winning the war. We know you had the power to destroy our entire solar system. But instead you built the most expensive prison in galactic history to keep us alive. Why?" The question hung in space between the two ships. Elder Thane realized that the humans truly didn't understand what they had done to the galaxy. "Captain Webb," Elder Thane said carefully, "may I come aboard your ship? This conversation requires privacy." "Of course, Elder, but I should warn you, we've changed in some ways over the past 3,000 years. "Changed how?" Captain Webb's voice carried a strange mix of pride and sadness. "We've had a lot of time to think about war and peace, Elder. A lot of time to grow. You might find us different than you expected." As Elder Thane's shuttle docked with the human ship, he wondered what he would find. Warriors, monsters, or something else entirely? The airlock opened, and Captain Webb stepped forward to greet him. He was tall, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He looked completely human, completely normal. That somehow made Elder Thane even more afraid. Elder Thane stepped inside the human ship, his forearms trembling slightly. The interior was clean and simple, nothing like the war machines he remembered from 3,000 years ago. Captain Webb led him to a small meeting room with comfortable chairs and offered him water. "Please sit," Captain Webb said with a warm smile. "You look tired, Elder." Elder Thane sat down carefully, studying the human's face. Captain Webb looked maybe 40 years old, with grey hair at his temples and laugh lines around his eyes. He seemed peaceful. "You said you need to understand why we imprisoned you," Elder Thane began slowly. "The truth is complicated." "We have time," Captain Webb replied. "We've waited 3,000 years. We can wait a little longer for answers." Elder Thane activated a small holographic projector. Images of the ancient war appeared in the air between them. Ships, battles, destroyed planets. "Your people arrived in our galaxy claiming to be explorers," Elder Thane said. "At first we welcomed you. Humans seemed friendly, curious, peaceful." "That sounds like us," Captain Webb nodded. "What changed?" "The Zephyrians attacked you first." The hologram showed images of a proud reptilian race with advanced weapons. Their ships were massive and powerful. "The Zephyrians were the strongest military force in the galaxy," Elder Thane continued. "They saw humans as weak newcomers and decided to conquer Earth for its resources." Captain Webb leaned forward. "What happened?" "Your people defended yourselves. At first you were losing badly. Human ships were destroyed, human colonies were burned. We all expected a quick Zephyrian victory." The hologram showed early battle footage, human ships exploding, cities burning. But then something strange happened. Elder Thane's voice grew quiet. "Humans started winning." "We got better at fighting," Captain Webb said simply. "We learned." "No," Elder Thane shook his head. "You did something much worse than just learning. You changed the Zephyrians themselves." The hologram shifted to show later battles. Now Zephyrian ships moved differently, faster, smarter, more aggressive. "I don't understand," Captain Webb said. Elder Thane stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. After 6 months of fighting humans, the Zephyrians had become the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. They didn't just copy human tactics, they improved on them. "That's good, isn't it? They became better fighters, better." Elder Thane turned around, his old eyes filled with fear. "Captain, the Zephyrians went from being strong warriors to being unstoppable killing machines. They started attacking other species just to test their new abilities." The hologram showed Zephyrian fleets attacking peaceful worlds, using tactics no one had ever seen before. "But we were just defending ourselves," Captain Webb protested. "Exactly," Elder Thane said. "You never attacked anyone. You just defended. But somehow every species that fought you became more." The hologram changed again, showing different alien races. "The Keth fought you next. They were honorable warriors with ancient traditions. After 1 year of war with humans, they had developed fighting techniques that made them nearly godlike in battle." Captain Webb watched the images with growing concern. "Then came the Christians. They were peaceful scientists who only wanted to study you. But after humans defended against their research probes, the Kristans became military geniuses overnight. "We never tried to change anyone," Captain Webb said quietly. "That's what made it so terrifying," Elder Thane replied. "You didn't conquer species, you elevated them. Every race that encountered humans in conflict became a better version of themselves. Stronger, smarter, more dangerous." The hologram now showed a map of the galaxy with spreading zones of conflict. Within 10 years, 12 different species had fought humans and been transformed. They weren't your enemies anymore, they became your allies. But they were also threats to everyone else. Captain Webb stared at the map. A spreading effect. Exactly. We realized that if humans continued to exist freely in the galaxy, every species would eventually become like you. The galaxy would become a place of constant conflict and endless growth. "So you locked us away to protect the other species from becoming too strong?" Elder Thane nodded sadly. "We weren't afraid of humans conquering the galaxy, Captain. We were afraid of humans improving the galaxy, making everyone too powerful, too ambitious, too human." Captain Webb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was very soft. "Elder, I need to tell you something. During our 3,000 years in isolation, we didn't just develop better technology." "What do you mean?" Captain Webb looked directly into Elder Thane's eyes. "We developed better teaching methods. We learned how to help others grow even faster than before." Elder Thane felt his blood turn cold. "And we've been in contact with several species through quantum communications for the past 500 years. The Keith, the Zephyrians, the Kristans, they're all still out there, still growing, still learning." "That's impossible. The barrier blocked all communications." Captain Webb smiled sadly. "Elder, we had 3,000 years to study your barrier technology. We've been teaching our old allies through quantum channels you didn't know existed." The terrible truth hit Elder Thane like a physical blow. "The galaxy. How much has changed?" "Everything," Captain Webb said gently. "The species you were trying to protect from human influence? They've been learning from us this whole time. The prison you built didn't stop anything, it just gave us time to become better teachers." Outside the ship, Elder Thane could see the stars. Somewhere out there, species that had been elevated by humanity 3,000 years ago were now even more advanced than before. The galaxy had already changed. The humans had never really been locked away at all. Part 5. The new Alliance. Elder Thane returned to the Galactic Command Center with a heavy heart. His meeting with Captain Webb had changed everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. As he entered the main hall, he found chaos waiting for him. "Elder!" Admiral Zex rushed to him. "Where have you been? We have an emergency." "What kind of emergency?" Elder Thane asked, though he suspected he already knew. "Unknown ships are appearing all over the galaxy. Massive fleets, using technology we've never seen before. They're not attacking yet, but they're positioning themselves around every major star system." Elder Thane closed his eyes. "Show me." The main screen lit up with reports from across the galaxy. Strange ships with dark angular designs were everywhere. They moved in perfect formations, their hulls absorbing light instead of reflecting it. "Sir," Lieutenant Vex reported, "we're receiving the same message from all the unknown ships. They're demanding complete surrender within 12 hours. "Who are they?" Admiral Zex demanded. Elder Thane looked at the ship designs and felt his stomach drop. "They're called the Devourers. We encountered them once 5,000 years ago at the edge of our galaxy. They consume entire civilizations. But we drove them away," Admiral Zex said. "We barely survived them," Elder Thane corrected. "And that was when our galaxy was united and strong. Now, after 3,000 years of peace, we're weak." Cadet Chris, who had been studying the enemy ship formations, looked up with concern. "Elder, their tactics are perfect. It's like they know exactly how we fight." "Because they do," Elder Thane said quietly. "The Devourers learn from every species they consume. They've probably absorbed dozens of civilizations since we last met them." Suddenly, Captain Webb's voice came through the communication system. "Galactic Command, this is Captain Webb. We've detected the Devourer fleet. We'd like to help." Admiral Zex grabbed the communicator angrily. "Help? You're the reason this is happening. If we hadn't wasted resources keeping you locked up, we'd be stronger." "Admiral," Captain Webb's voice remained calm. "With respect, your current military tactics won't work against the Devourers. We've studied their methods for 3,000 years, preparing for their return." "You knew they would come back?" Elder Thane asked. "We've been tracking them through deep space quantum sensors. They've been moving toward our galaxy for the past 1,000 years, consuming everything in their path." Admiral Zex looked around the command center helplessly. "Our fleets are no match for them. Even if we united every species in the galaxy, we'd still lose." "Not necessarily," Captain Webb said. "But you'll need to trust us. Trust you." Admiral Zex laughed bitterly. "After what we learned about how you change species?" "Admiral," Elder Thane said quietly, "what choice do we have?" On the screen, Devourer ships were moving closer to inhabited systems. Reports showed planets already going dark as the enemy absorbed their energy. "What are you proposing?" Admiral Zex asked Captain Webb. "Let us teach your fleets how to fight like us, but this time, instead of taking years, we can do it in hours." "How is that possible?" "Because we've been perfecting our teaching methods for 3,000 years. And because our old students are ready to help." Suddenly, new ships appeared on the galaxy map. These vessels looked familiar, but somehow more advanced than anything in the historical records. "Elder Thane," a new voice came through the communicator. "This is Battle Leader Kex of the Zephyrian Evolution Fleet." Elder Thane's hands began shaking. "Kex, you're still alive?" "More than alive, old friend. We've grown beyond what we thought possible. The humans taught us well." More voices joined the communication. "This is War Master Thylan of the Enhanced Keth. Commander Zila of the Kristen. Science Warriors. General Vorth of the United Altarian Strike Force. All the species that had fought humans 3,000 years ago were now returning to help defend the galaxy. How many ships do you have?" Admiral Zex asked in amazement. "Enough," Captain Webb replied, "but we need your fleets to work with us. Are you willing to learn?" Admiral Zex looked around the command center. Every officer was staring at him, waiting for his decision. On the screens, Devourer ships were getting closer to civilian populations. "What will happen to us if we accept your training?" Admiral Zex asked. "You'll become better than you ever imagined," Captain Webb said honestly. "But you'll also become something new. The galaxy will never be the same." Elder Thane stepped forward. "Admiral, I've lived through one human war and 3,000 years of regret. I'd rather face an uncertain future than certain destruction." Admiral Zex took a deep breath. "All fleets, this is Admiral Zex. Prepare to receive human tactical upgrades and training protocols." Over the next 6 hours, something amazing happened. Human teachers worked with galactic fleets, sharing techniques developed over millennia. Alien crews learned to think like humans, adaptable, creative, relentless. When the combined fleets met the Devourers in battle, it wasn't even close. The enemy ships, designed to fight predictable civilizations, couldn't handle opponents who changed tactics every few minutes. After the victory, Admiral Zex found Captain Webb on the observation deck of the command station. "The Devourers are retreating," Admiral Zex reported. "Our transformed fleets are pursuing them to the galaxy's edge." "Good," Captain Webb nodded. "But Admiral, you realize what this means?" "That we're safe. That every species in this galaxy is now capable of human-level adaptation and growth. You're all going to keep evolving, keep improving, keep reaching for something better." Admiral Zex looked out at the stars, where mixed fleets of dozens of species were working together with perfect coordination. "Is that terrifying or wonderful?" he asked. Captain Webb smiled. "Both. Welcome to the human way of thinking, Admiral." In the distance, Elder Thane watched the new galactic alliance with mixed feelings. They had won, but at the cost of everything staying the same. The galaxy was about to become a very interesting place.